Yeah, what is going on, everybody? We are back with another episode of From My Experience podcast. I am your host, Rob, and I am truly excited today. Today has been a daunting day, a draining day, but we have a special guest today, and he's already brought a ton of energy that has completely shifted the mood. Of course, I want to thank you all of our listeners, followers, supporters, the people who like, subscribe, comment, listen, all those positive things, the people who utilize our affiliates. Thank you so much. Speaking of affiliates, we have Garner's Garden, who sells organic products, oral health care, skin care, hair care. Check them out. The link is in the description. Acre Gold, I just made another payment to them. You can subscribe to purchase bars of gold. Once your subscription fee hits the amount of gold at the current time, you will be mailed your bar of gold in a discreet box. So check them out. Black water, that is the water that is literally black because of the minerals that they put in it. It comes in different flavors. Make sure you check them out. That's some good stuff there. And Retro Mimi, for my fellow gamers out there. If you want some retro gaming in pocket form, you can take it with you on the go. They sell handheld emulation consoles. Make sure you check them out. All of that is in the description. Now, I am not alone. I have the co-host with the most, who is always vibrating higher, Miss Jessica Fountain, aka J Fo. What it do? What's good? What you know?
Hey, I'm here today. I think we had similar days as you expressed, but it has gotten better. And I am excited because today we have something like a CU reunion, Claflin University reunion. So I'm excited about that.
Yes, I am as well. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, friend of the show, we have inspirational soul music artist, Mr. Joseff McKenneth. Woo!
Hey, hey, hey. Thanks for having me on again. This is so cool.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yes, yes.
All right,
Glad to
so
be here.
since quarantine, them R&B honey's been in your inbox. Let's get straight to it.
Ah.
Joseph, I've been sitting
uh,
around listening to your music, and I think now it's time. No, let's.
listen, there's stories, Rob. Listen, it's stories, but we leave the DMs alone. We leave the DMs alone. We leave the DMs alone.
So now you're still in New York, correct?
Correct.
So this is the one. I actually have two burning questions. This is my first burning question because I feel like New York was one of the areas that, I mean, we all got impacted by COVID on different levels. So I'm not trying to belittle any other place, but I feel like New York in particular was a very, y'all got hit
Hot
hard. I
spot.
feel like it was
Yeah.
just it was all kinds of stuff and people trying to make decisions and then rent situations. So what was it like for you when things hit? Like what were some of the things that were going on with you?
Well, I think a lot of it, I believe we were hit really heavy, but I think a lot of it was sensationalized. For me, just from my end, I live in Queens, and I think most of the activity was happening in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
But everything really did shut down. And since, New York is basically like the music capital up here, our industry was hit pretty heavy by that. And I'm sure other industries as well. But, when you have people coming up here for Broadway shows and concerts and, my circuit, which is like live gigs,
Mm.
yeah, that kind of hit. But in terms of just everybody quarantining and, abiding by the rules and taking precautions, I think everybody was on top of that. Everybody was on game with that. And we have a very good governor, I would suppose, who's really been implementing a lot of this stuff. So in light of a lot of the hoopla and the chaos, there were pockets of peace around here. So I'm glad to have been able to be in that pocket. So yeah.
That is definitely dope. What I guess what was one thing you had to persevere through, and I guess did you have any shining moments? Was there anything positive that happened? Because me and Jessica have been talking, and Honestly, since this quarantine, a lot of great things have happened for me. I mean, I kind of feel bad saying that because I know how bad it was for other people. But
Nah, don't feel bad saying that. No.
for me, listen, I came up in so many different ways. So how about you?
You know what? I feel like this whole moment is the perfect opportunity for a lot of entrepreneurs to shine.
Mm,
And even though, like I said, my industry was hit pretty heavily, like all of my gigs through 2020 were like shot and canceled. I was like, yo, what is this all about? And the thing is, I had worked up to a point where I could perform live for a living, so I was like in
right.
my element. And yeah, and I told you this like on the last show that we did, and when that happened, it was like, woo. So we had to repivot, and I think one of the things that one of the challenges was the repivot, and I'm grateful that I have colleagues and people in place where I was able to do work like studio work, a few virtual gigs,
Nice.
but then we had the whole pandemic unemployment situation up here. And so a lot of the artists and working musicians had access to that. And up here in New York, they extended it. Like when they had cut it off in other states.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what y'all situation was like, but up here, like they had extended it through September or October, somewhere like that. And I was able to use that to put in and invest into my work online.
Nice.
And so that was a big help. And I think right now it's been me kind of seeing how things pan out just from that pivot. And so so far, like it's been moving, and I'm pretty excited about that. I've been pretty excited about that. So yeah.
Excellent. Go ahead. Jessica is ready to jump in because her word,
Go.
pivot is one of her words. So when you said it,
Hey!
I zoned in on her face because I said,
Come on
"Ooh."
here. Come on, synchronicity. Come on here. Come on
You
here.
better stop with this vocabulary.
I'm laughing because you're like spot on with that.
Yes.
Pivoting. Like I think a lot of people need to hear that. Like
Yeah.
even myself today, because a lot of my pre-show rant, I would say me and Rob get on a few minutes before, and today it was just like you have such planning and process, and you do all the preparation for your businesses, yourself, personal goals, all of these different things. But then there are moments in our lives where there is a shift that is you don't control, I don't control. And you have to lean into the universe and lean into your gifts, not necessarily abandon them, but how do you, using that word pivot, to I'm still utilizing my gift, but I cannot use it in the avenue in which it initially I thought I would be using it. So yeah, it may look like I'm going to be singing on stage or working in a actual facility, but that might not be the case now. And so now you got to go virtual. And so I always encourage people to pivot. Today was a day personally that I am like eating on my own medicine per se, and just trying to find the avenue to shift because things do happen. So it's
Such
good to
is
hear
life.
that you were able to lean into that and not let that like halt or alter your perspective of your own personal goals. So
Yeah, because it's very easy to do that, specifically when like you said, you have a plan, like you get caught, you headstrong with the plan. And I think I've adopted, the mentality that you can plan, but, don't put so much focus on being too strict with the plan because of how unpredictable life can be sometimes, and it really could cause like have to like be creative, like what do I have to do since this isn't working, like
right.
And it's just like you have to trust at this point. Leaning into it, like you said, is just an act of trust and saying, oh, okay, I'm gonna take this avenue. I don't know.
With faith, like a lot of faith-based, for me, I think that is the activation of faith. Like when things are different, like to do something different, and or like when it's different, you can't just go with your plan because you have to like trust in something
Mm-hmm.
bigger outside of you, your team, your friends. Like you have to rely on different different situations, different people to push you to that next thing, and that's what I mean by lenient. So
Oh yeah.
yes, Rob, you hit the nail on the head. You know me so well.
It's because I'm a great listener. Have you done any
we
more?
could we could we could really go deep into that conversation, but I
We
know for
could.
this
I'm trying to
because
like.
I'm like condensed it.
Don't
But go
wanna-
ahead, Rob.
All right, so we're gonna. So that means we're gonna have to have you on again this year. That good to know. So I'm gonna be honest with you.
Uh-huh.
I liked you in After a While, and have you done any more acting since? Do you plan on doing any more acting?
That's a very good question, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that you enjoyed being that, and I am, and I there's a film project in the works. Yes.
Oh!
So,
Okay.
but once again, this whole repivoting situation. So there's a lot of pacing going on, and I'm scouting out production teams. I just actually, this is so interesting you say that. I spoke to a filmmaker yesterday, just like out of the blue almost, and they got caught wind of my After a While film.
Mm-hmm.
And so, people, when they see your work and they are also like artists and, producers and all that sort, they come out the woodwork saying, well, I got this project that I'm working on. I think you would be good, blah, blah, blah. And then you kind of get like, all right, whatever. But then this particular gentleman came in and he was like, I really, yeah, this was good stuff. And then, people talk hot air. And I was like, well, what's your work? Like, what have you done? And so checked out his work and mind blown. Like he has like work in so many different independent film festivals, Sundance to be one of them. And his eye for film and just his cinematography is just like Marvel, like Universal Studios type level. And I was like, yo, and you saying this about my work, sir? Like, we gotta talk. And so it's just, it's funny you mentioned that because now we're in the, there's an interview set up, I guess a Zoom call set up with him and his team. For this particular project that I'm working on. So yeah, like I have something in the works. Like I'm going to be doing more acting, and so yeah, I'm excited about that. I can't tell you too much of the details until I'm solidified with production.
Yeah.
But just know it's going to be mind blowing for sure.
That's excellent, man. We need some more strong black actors.
Oh yeah.
Especially men. I still have that whole Morris Chestnut, Tay Diggs, like those guys. I want another solid era of that. They've tried with a few people. What's the guy's name? Michael Ealy, I think. He was one of them, and they kept putting him in films. But I'm like, yo, we need some more people like that. And I thought about that. I was like,
it's gonna be a thing. And you know what? And not to take up too much time on that subject. However, since you mentioned After a While, it's sort of like a prequel to After a While.
Okay.
And so I think because everything is shifted in terms of just where my music is going and where my artistry is going, this particular project deals with the dynamic between a black son and a black father. Mm-hmm. So this is something that I feel like is important.
Yes.
In mentioning, men of color and in mentioning black families. Because this story is actually my story. Mm-hmm. And so I'm putting it all together in a way where I know it's going to hit and I know it's going to make an impact on, just everybody's lives, specifically people of color, black and brown, indigenous people. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm loving that. I love the arts. I love that. Yeah, like that does something for me. So I'm taking it singing is your favorite discipline. Maybe you're going to surprise me.
It is.
As much as I know about you, I feel like I would safely assume that is your favorite. What is your second favorite discipline? Is it theater? Like what other projects are you working on?
Man, just I'm just an art, see, a performing arts buff. Like I'm a nut. Like
Mm-hmm.
anything dealing with the performing arts, I'm there for it.
Mm-hmm.
Not only just performing arts, but visual arts as well. So it's like anything art related.
Right.
And so singing, yes, is my favorite.
Okay.
But I like storytelling. I like the art of telling stories. I like, writing. I like producing. I like that whole element, like being able to tell stories. And I think you can tell story in any kind of form. And for
Right.
me, it's more so film at this point. So, film and cinematography and just being able to like visually tell that story. That's the second favorite, I suppose,
Okay.
to singing. So yeah.
I love storytelling. I think
Oh
that
yeah.
it's very important. And I like that you also mentioned that it can be done in a multitude of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very important from a cultural standpoint that
Oh
we
yeah.
um, lean into telling stories or sharing our story,
Oh absolutely.
because so much of our story as Black people, people of color, has been lost.
Oh yeah.
And the
Yeah.
pieces that we have, they're fragmented. And
Mm-hmm.
it is the visionaries or the courageous, those with courage to share it, that are really creating the history for us now, because there's so much that we don't know about ourselves that has been lost and forgotten. And just tapping into that, I mean, obviously it still occurs and it still goes on, but it's good to see people continuously breaking out and sharing their
Oh
story.
yeah. And you know what I think, and like, just to kind of piggyback on what you said, Rob, in terms of just like, when we look at this pandemic and everybody's like losing things, and and I mentioned that this is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, but also for creatives,
Mm-hmm.
because under
Yes.
the umbrella of being able to tell stories, I feel like there's so much access to different, like a diversity of stories right now, of diversity of
Right.
narratives.
Right.
And because we talk about our Black experience, it's like, oh, we know that our stories have been distorted, our narratives have been distorted. And being able to be in a place where we can create it and put it on a platform where it can be seen, where it can be heard, it's like you can't ask for anything more than that, because now it's like, oh, people's awareness is expanding
Yep.
because, oh, they're seeing our story from our point of view. And and if you have people that look like us telling our own stories, then nobody can really take that away from us.
Yeah.
Right.
It's important that we tell our story. All right. To the
Yeah.
music. To the music.
Yes,
Your
the music.
new EP.
Come on.
Tell the folks about this wonderful body of work. I need to buy it. Actually, I'm gonna buy it when we finish this interview.
Well,
Um,
there's a deal going on up until January 30th, but yeah.
oh,
Should I
that's what
tell
I saw. I was like, "Yo, that's interesting. He did that."
them? Yeah.
Especially now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was something that I wanted to do, and I think, well, since I felt like, why not?
Mhm.
Anyway, so the project is called Awakened, and I call it my little quarantine project because I recorded it during the quarantine in this room here.
Seriously.
On my laptop, in GarageBand.
Oh,
Um,
I'm doing it all wrong.
It's listen. When I tell you this is the time to be creative, like you'd be surprised what you can do with like the smallest of resources.
Mm.
And yeah, like and speaking of that, not to get off completely off topic, but that's pretty much been the whole outline of my whole career. Like I'm grateful to have been resourceful,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the work that I
Mm.
have done, people think that I went and traveled, way in Scotland and Ireland somewhere to do half the video stuff that I've done, to record half of the stuff. They think I've been in these big studios like in New York, and it's just like, yo, I just used my resources. Like I put myself out there in a way where I was like, this is my intention. this is what I intend to do. And
Right.
then God, the universe, all the elements kind of just was
Right.
like, it was a magnet toward me. And I'm like, oh, we can put you here. I was like, all right, let's do business. Oh, we can, we can put this on over here. I was like, all right, do that. And then it's just like, I didn't, and what's also important about being resourceful is like, I didn't have to spend a whole lot of money to do a lot of this stuff.
Excellent.
And so I'm grateful for that, and that also lets me know that I'm walking and like living in my purpose, because this stuff excites me. And the last show that I was on, I said my motto is trust what excites you. Trust what excites you, and I live and breathe that. And I was like, if I don't feel excited, if I don't feel satisfied by this thing, like, I ain't doing it. And this is kind of how what birthed this project, Awaken. And because this whole year, this pandemic was sort of an awakening for everybody. You opening their eyes to just, how life, or what's really going on, instead of what they think is going on. It's just like you're seeing life for what it really is, rather than what you feel like you want it to be. And so you kind of have to sit in that. And everybody's been like in their houses, in their like cooped up, like, if you're an outgoing person and you like to be out all over the place, like, you were really tied down to one
Your
spot.
space.
Yep.
Right.
And some people, that's excruciating for a lot of people. So it's just like, but then that's kind of a safe haven for a lot of people too, because it gives you time to reflect, gives you time for like introspection and all that good stuff. And so this is what the nature of the project is. It's like, awakening yourself to, your authentic self, like what you really feel, and you can't avoid that. Like, look at that. It's just like, sit with that. You can't distract yourself from nothing. Like,
You can't.
You
And it's
cannot.
that awareness.
Yes. And that's really what this project is all about. Awakening to the truth of who you really are, and expressing that. And this was a labor of love and excitement for sure, because I got to really express myself in a way that I never really got to do in previous projects. And I got to tell the stories in a way that I didn't feel like, oh, I'm catering to this audience or I'm catering to that audience. And it's just like, no, this is me. Like it or love it, hate it or not, like, it's me.
Excellent.
I like that.
Yeah. What's your favorite song off of your latest project?
In My Own Way. It's a song called it's the first song on the track is called In My Own Way. And it's a song about healing. It's in the what is it? The line in the song says, I'm healing in my own way. Like, everybody feels like there's a formula for success, or formula to get healed, or formula to get over something. It's really not. It's really about, like I said, really sitting with how you really feel about something, and allowing yourself and pacing yourself through those emotions, so that you can get to the space and the peace that you dream about, that you wish for. And you can't do that when you're faking it. You can't do that when you're distracting yourself. And so, and sometimes it's going to look dark. It's going to look scary. It's going to feel bad. And you're going to feel like you're halfway out of here. And it's like, all right, this is it. And sometimes, metaphorically, that's what it takes. You kind of have to just like, go in that dark space and just sit there. And when you're there, it's just like you allow those feelings to rise up, so that, one, you can look at them so they can just eventually pass through. And you keep doing that and keep doing that. And the next thing you know, it's just like, oh, I can breathe a little bit. I can breathe a little bit. I'm not doing it at nobody else's pace, but I'm doing it in my own way.
Yes.
Hmm.
And that's my favorite
That was
song.
for me.
Hey. Come on in.
Wait, first of all, the vocals.
Yes, come on.
I wasn't ready.
Yeah, I wasn't ready either.
Yes. Come on here.
But Rob can attest. I am an advocate for everything you just said, and we often get in the way of ourselves because we have all of these different expectations that are formulated from other people's narratives, other
Mm-hmm.
people's scope. So now I expect to have accomplished something in a year based off of someone else's experience, perspective, outcome. Whereas for me, it may take me 2 years, and on something else, it may take me 6 months.
Right.
So it's like having that awareness and having the discipline to one, move out of your way, which I always ego. Like our egos get
Mm-hmm.
flare up and get loud, and we get in a space where we don't want to hear anything except for my way.
Talk about it.
But we're blocking the blessing and like the true awareness. You cannot be awakened if you're not aware. Like
Right.
you have to come out of something, like, and there has to be a shift, a breaking to be awakened. Like, so that's what I take away from just the title of that. But like a lot of times we are the culprit. And there's this book that I think everybody should read it. It's called The Four Agreements. And it's just four
Heard that
powerful
book.
ways to really start tapping into those areas in your life that are potentially an area that you've been sleeping in. And it's not taking things personally, not being impeccable with your words. So using your voice to advocate, speak, and do the things that you said that you wanted to do. Not making assumptions and always doing your best. And when you do those four things, everything shifts with it, and like it does take you into this space of enlightenment, and where you can move forward, because we do get in the way of ourselves a lot.
You know what? And I think you mentioned something too. About getting in our own way, and how we can block our own selves from being our most being the greatest and the grandest version of who we wish ourselves to be. And one thing that I like to say, one thing that I believe, everything is context. Like, when we think of being awakened, in my opinion, everybody's awake. We talk about, stay woke, be woke. But my opinion about that is that, based on a specific context, everybody's woke. In other words, everybody's living out the truth of what they believe and who they think that they are.
Ooh.
And sometimes in that, in that truth, or in that truth that you think and that you believe, you will encounter some roadblocks. And a lot of the times those roadblocks are really there to help you look at yourself a little bit clearly. And so, and that's a part of the paradox too. Sometimes it takes experiencing the absence of what you are in order for you to really know who you are. For instance, so it's just like, in order for me to know what's possible for me, I got to experience the impossible. In order for me to, to have clarity, I got to experience confusion. In order for me to, to see the light, I got to be in darkness.
Right.
And so being able to have that block is just as important as being able to not have that block. Because if it's not for that block, you wouldn't know what it feels like to be free. And that, for me, it helps me to really like ground myself in my own body and just like accept the block for what it is. Just like, yeah, I see that. And it's just like, because sometimes when we see the block, we get a little scared and we'll distract ourselves from the block. But then when we allow ourselves to see, all right, this block is here for a purpose. There's a gift with this block. I can use this and like be stagnant here, or I can use it as a stepping stone. And a lot of the times in a specific context, since everybody's on their own unique journey, we're not all going to get there at the same time, and then that's the reason why I adopt the whole idea of context, because, everybody's on their own different, wavelength with it. However, everybody has to come to that point when it's like you're facing that block and you got to just, all right, you make the decision. And I guess that's where free choice comes in too. Being, having the free will to be like, all right, I'm going to let this block stay here. Or maybe I'll just, move it out of the way because I'm in the way. And then when you do that, it's just like, yeah, now I can breathe. Now I'm living in my truth. Now I'm living in my purpose. And so, yeah, that's one thing. Oh, yeah, that's a thought of just about what you just said in terms of being up the
No.
block. So yeah.
I thought it disconnected.
You know
Sorry.
what? On that note, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Joseph just touched on something so important about going through things so that you can realize and recognize what the opposite of that is. And it made me think of a prayer that I've been praying ever since I got my license in real estate, because I realized as an entrepreneur, making sure that, my work was my paycheck. There was no check coming on the 1st and 15th anymore. It was like, if you don't work, you don't eat. And I had to shift my mindset, and I said, God, anyone or anything that gets in my way that is not helping me move forward, please remove it. I don't care if I don't understand it. I don't care how bad it hurts. I need it gone because I need to move forward. And that has happened ever since I prayed that prayer. A lot of people, a lot of things, including my own attitude, my own shortcomings, they have been removed. They've just been removed naturally, not with minimally, like no drama, no theatrics. They just move, and then when they move, I'm like, dang. But I was like, you know what? That's what you asked for. And then right around the corner, something better comes along. So I was definitely feeling everything that you were saying, man. I'm just sitting over here like, yo, was this guy watching the whole time? Like,
that's the power of life, when you surrender. And I think, talking in the way that we've been talking in terms of just, evolution and awakening and all of that stuff, like all of this ties into just how powerful we are as like beings on this planet in terms of just, the power of our words and the power of our intention behind the word. And the fact that you set your intention on what it was that you wanted to do, like the universe, God met you halfway. And it's just like, all right, let's make the moves. Let's make the changes. And that's usually how it is. It's like when you get out the way, everything else falls into place.
And it's so crazy because it is such a infinite truth that if you try it, it truly happens. And we talked about this on the last episode. I don't even know if it airs tomorrow, but just the power, which was won't be tomorrow. I've confused everybody.
That's why I laughed. It was.
It'll air at some point.
Yeah,
you'll hear
that
it.
Will be airing or
it
have
has
aired.
aired already.
It probably has aired. It has aired at this point. Yes.
Aired.
Okay. No,
it aired already.
Just the point is when you put things into the universe and when you write them down and you set an intention, like literally writing it down, which is my thing. Like I am an advocate for putting it on a sheet of paper because you take it from this idea, which is there's so many millions, billions, trillions of ideas. Ideas are kind of like particles of air that we never see. They just float and they're all around us all the time. Yeah. But by writing it down, instantly you have the power to manifest it from this just spark to a thing on a sheet of paper that you can tangibly feel and see. And now your senses have connected to that, which is already changing the process of it becoming real, kind of like egg meets sperm type manifestation.
Absolutely.
That happens instantly. So now you have to wait the 9-month period or the 1 year period, the 24 period for that piece of paper now to evolve into the actual manifestation of your dream. So people think they're so, I don't know.
It's so quick, like quick fixes. It's like you thinking like, all right, this is what you want. And then it's just like, you want it right now. And it's like, the minute you think of it, it's like, oh, I can get it right now. But I think what you're saying is you explaining the process of it. Like there is a process in all of this. And I think a part of that comes with an awareness that there is a process going on. And I think some people aren't aware of the process. And so they just like, oh, if I don't see it, then it ain't. I was like,
or
because you don't see it.
That it's possible.
When
it came up and floated past, but you have to catch it and like secure it by, I think, writing it down, And then you share that. Well, yeah, I had this idea, and like that bursts it a little further. And so every little step along the way, you're just padding and growing this concept that ultimately becomes, or you don't like. There's been so many things. Like I literally wrote on a sheet of paper podcast. Like, and that was something that I shared with other friends. I showed him the day that we decided that I would be a co-host. I was like, I gotta show you something. And I showed him like my sticky note. And this is something that in the background I actually took his class and Natasha Carter's course on podcasting because I was that much interested in it, but still in the baby version of it. The podcast idea that I wanted to create was ultimately from my experience podcast, but I just had a different title for it. But it was the same concept, the same intention, everything. But had I stayed in my way, and going back to your point, if it had to have had, my plan had to have had, say, a certain name, and it had to have had me being the CEO of it, then I may not have been able to see that to fruition as I was able to skip through many of my identified roadblocks. I mean, I'm not that tech savvy. I know how to navigate and I have my businesses, but I'm more implementing already existing technology person, not doing it from scratch and building those processes of technology up from scratch. So to fast forward, me and Rob have a conversation and he's telling me his need, again, being vulnerable and expressing those things that are the deepest desires of our heart. Yeah, I'm looking for another podcast host, and he's going on and telling me that. And as he's talking to my ear, it's like, what? Like,
you talking my vision.
Perking up, I'm listening. This can't be real. Like, he's saying everything I want to do. Like, and
come on
now
here.
I have to be vulnerable and say,
yes.
Hey, I don't know if I'm a good fit or not. However, I am interested in that role. And if you're interested in having me, I'd like to try it out. And fast forward, here I am. But all off of writing podcasts on a sticky note and taking a course. That's pretty much the only physical piece that I did to say that I was moving forward in the podcasting channel of my life. And here I am in quarantine creating. I mean, and all of those are like awakenings. Like,
yes,
it happened for me, and like you said, it happened for you. Like, it's just that's how it goes. But a lot of people won't try it, which means that they won't get out of the way of how they think it should be.
Yeah,
they think it has to be this like journey of going upward hill, like upstream, and it doesn't have to be like that. Like, it can't literally a flow, a boom, a boom, a boom. Like,
it's so not to completely cut you off.
No, you're fine.
I'm on because I actually was having a conversation earlier today that is like the synchronicity of this whole, what you just said was in terms of the conversation I was having today with this friend of mine. She was talking about, preferences, like in terms of a mate, and just the whole idea how we can get stuck on a preference. And this could be a general thing, not just for, just relationship wise, but just a preference wise.
Yep.
We all have preferences. And the fact of the matter is the preferences exist because we have our own unique expression. And so what I may like, somebody else may not like. And so that's why we have the preferences. However, we don't know, well, the who, the what, the why, will usually be a mystery in terms of what comes into our world.
Yes.
And so because we don't know the who, the what that is, it's just like, it's important for us to be open to expanding the preference, expanding the specifics of what it is that we want. It's just like, it's okay to have what it is that you want, but when you allow yourself, like you said, to be vulnerable enough to be open to expanding that and to
Right.
see what comes in and to be observant of what comes in.
And
Because,
be present. Going back to your
yes,
word of present.
yes,
When you are present and you expanded this net, and when you said that, I thought of fishing. It's like fishing
yes,
in a fish tank versus the ocean. So yeah, in the ocean you're gonna get a lot of things, bottles and everything else, but you also are gonna get a whole lot of types of fish, a whole lot of different things,
yes,
and now you can choose. You can actually identify. Okay, I have all of this. What do I want? More
right,
so
Yep.
as to I need. And I'm
right,
not getting anything that I need.
yes,
I need. And so I think
yes,
a lot of times we get in the way. Like I have said that I'm sure at least 20 times since we
because
started recording
it's
in
the
October,
truth.
but we
It's the
get in
truth.
the way
It's the
because of
truth.
these perceived thoughts.
Yeah.
These pieces, it has to be this way, and it doesn't. It's so many celebrities, people of influence that we follow that tell you their story. And I wrote this down when you were talking earlier. You said resourceful, and you were talking about GarageBand and like using these things, but and how oftentimes people approach you and you are attracting it. The attraction is one thing because that's what the universe is rewarding our gift. Like, but our ability to be open is the receiving of the gift.
Whew.
And your openness is what I heard is like where people miss it because they're so close that they're punching the gift away,
Right.
pushing it away instead of like, this is not what I thought it was gonna look like, and
Because
not but it does check all the boxes.
right. But you know what? And I think that you know what, and this is kind of what would bring clarity in terms of just why people get in their own way. And this is my opinion. You know, I think a lot of us get in our own way because we romanticize the idea of what we want.
Yep.
Rather than the reality of what it actually is. And that's just like, and it's and to some degrees, it's like, okay, yeah, we romanticize ideas all the time because that's a part of how our imagination works. But romanticizing the idea will get you so caught up on a checklist, will get you caught up on just like, oh, this is the way it has to be. This is the way it has to look. This is the person who has to come into the project. This is this, that, and the third. And you get so caught in the specifics of it all until you just kind of get lost in the details. And then when stuff actually comes in that will actually help you, you ain't seeing that. You ain't looking at that because you closed off on that checklist.
Right.
You closed
And
off
that's
on that
where
idea.
that presence, being present, like,
and being vulnerable and being open, like all
I
those
just said
words.
all of those words. And they're like, we repeat them. I think every episode. If like a tag, you're it. I'm sure like vulnerability, transparency, openness, all of that. Those are words that are repeated over and over and over and over and over. Vibrations, like attracting, because it is like the foolproof. And we take these courses and we go to everybody's class and we listen to like every platform, but the people that really have it and are successful and are like truly implementing that's it. That's all they implemented into their life. And it just duplicates in 1,000 different ways, but it takes showing up as your authentic self, using your authentic voice, doing work that brings you passion, waiting for the vibrations of that you send out into the universe through creation, through producing all of these different things. Now you're waiting for those to ripple back to you because they already went out through you.
Oh yeah.
So the abundance comes back in the forms of connection, relationships, finances, all of that comes back. But it's not just coming to you. You don't just get wealthy. You don't just get like rich. Like you actually did that when you created, when you vibrated, when you pushed it out into the earth and said, go, like that's going forth, like to me. And then you have a harvesting of it later. And
absolutely. And you know what?
Different.
And you know what? And I think, just in having a conversation about this kind of thing, I think sometimes, the mindset or at least the focus would be on external things a lot of the time. But I think when we are setting intentions, when we are putting things out into the world and out into the universe, they they also can be internal things.
Yep.
Because I
For
know,
sure.
for me, like just in my journey, in terms of just like developing my career, developing myself as a person, it's it's been more of an internal thing. So I think and I think I speak candidly about just my struggle with. I dealt with panic and anxiety. Like I had a situation up here in New York where I dealt heavily with panic and anxiety, and it just kind of came out of nowhere almost for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I never had to deal with it at this extreme, because it was pretty severe. And it was scaring me, because I was like, I'd have like this weird episode, like at the most inopportune time, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to freak out, I'm about to pass out, I don't know what's happening here. And so I literally was like, I prayed, I was like, something's got to give. Like, how do I get beyond this? Like, how do I get to a space where I feel like I'm myself, like I'm grounded? And because I was determined, because I was like, this is really affecting my life right now. And I went to my doctor and the hospital psychiatrist, and they were about to put me on meds. They were about to put me on anti-anxiety medicine. And I was like, oh, no. And this is nothing against anxiety medication or any pharmaceutical meds for that matter. It's just, for me, I was like, there is a way to do this. I think for me, that I don't have to resort to just a pill.
Right.
And so I was determined. I was like, there's got to be a way. Like, how do I do this? How do I do this? And I started saying how. Like, how can I get this? How to do this? How to do that? Because I would find myself asking the word why, asking the question why. Why this? Why that? Why this? Why that? And I found that the question why is rooted in so much worry. Like,
yes.
you worry so much, and what you do, what I found, and when you're asking the question why so much, you focus on more things to worry about, more things to ask why about, more things. And so what I've discovered just in my whole journey to like getting back to what I felt was more of a grounded version of me was asking how. Because for me, I think the question how is a more solution-based question. Because it's like, now you're asking God, you're asking the universe, you're asking all of the non-physical, angels to come through and he's really asking how to do this. How do we do this?
Yep.
It's like, all right, this is how you do it. And so now your mind's eye will see different things or different paths that you can take. But it's like, all right. And you have to feel your way into it. And it's going back to my whole motto, trust in what excites you. Like, following the path that you feel like is the most exciting one that's going to lead you down. And so I went on went to Google University to really like research some natural ways to really, do this. And I find like stuff just kind of came out of nowhere. Like, I never really saw this stuff ever online, when you see stuff about anxiety or panic or mental health stuff. And, it was sort of a module. It was like a module that I started doing. And like instantly when I started working on it, like it was cognitive therapy for me. Like I had to reframe how I was thinking about stuff. Because that's, to me, what caused a lot of the anxiety. It caused a lot of the worry. My thinking was twisted. I was getting, like you said, just in my own way. I was blocking myself by how I was thinking, by what I was saying. And specifically, not just what I was saying, but my choice of words, because a lot of words carry a lot of weight to them that bring us down. And so there are a lot of words in my vocabulary that in the English vocabulary that I just don't use anymore, because it carries a collective weight to them that it's just like, you might using it to empower yourself, but it's just like, the weight of that word is carrying, like, it's going to keep you down. Yep. Like an example, and I'm because I'm getting a little long-winded, but then the whole idea of, they say kill two birds with one stone.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we mean well by that, it's just like, why are you going to kill the birds? Like, why are you going to kill the birds? And so I use a phrase, how about let's just water two plants with the same glass? You have the same effect, but it's just like, it's more empowering, because now, when you pour water on a plant, like, it grows. You throwing rocks at birds, they're going to die. Yeah. And it's just like, even though both scenarios you mean well by them, it's
Right.
just like the choice of words can lift you
Words
up.
are very powerful.
Yeah.
They are. They
Um,
really are.
I mean, no matter what end of the spectrum, I think faith is a spiritual word and a religious word.
Hmm.
I'm more spiritual, and I think that the power of words, God, if we're like made in God's image, then we are godlike, and we have a
Hmm.
lot of authority and power, like true power.
Absolutely.
Like, and so I think our words are the use of that power. Like,
Hmm.
there's so much stuff I
There
can,
too.
like
Yeah.
yesterday this
Yeah.
happened, and I won't say specifically what I said, but I knew it, I could feel it, and I said it earlier. There's no real tangible way for me to have been able to control the narrative of that. Within 35 minutes it happened, and it was like but
Yeah.
like, I know that
Yeah.
part of myself. Like, I know that it's not just me, but
Yeah.
I'm so tapped into it that I know the power of my language, the things
Hmm.
that I say.
Yes.
I have to switch up
Yeah.
all the time, because sometimes you say it subconsciously. That's a
Hmm.
saying that people use freely,
Yeah.
and it's like we have to like be very, very mindful and very intentional.
Yeah.
Intention is the other word every episode, like setting positive intentions, because that's the nature of our mind.
Hmm.
And I think our mind is the limited boundary. Our
Yeah.
mind is computing every life experience.
It
Yeah.
is. Yep.
So, but the trick there is we have three different computers. So it's kind of like you are using a Dell, I'm using what is this? A Surface Book. Rob, you have a Mac. Like,
I
those are
wish.
three, even though they have basic levels of what they do,
Yep.
Yeah.
they are different systems completely based off of different developers. And
Yep.
those
Hmm.
developments happen in how we grow up, our parents' lives, love lives,
Yep.
school choices, all these different things. And so the boundaries of our mind, going back to getting out of our way, we have to accept and create almost like a restart button or a loophole button
Hmm.
within our boundary, which is
Yeah.
our openness to say
Yes.
that when I've done everything and I've computed everything and I've done all the computing, there might be a slight chance that I still don't know. And that's
Yes.
where we have to be open to the unknown, because that's based only off of my outlook,
Yeah.
like only off of what I have experienced, which when you look at the scope of the world and travel and all the different things, that the variables there, it can change drastically. Like,
Yes.
just going,
Always.
we start, I mean, we all went to the same college, yet where we chose to live after college is a major computing change in our
Yeah.
brain and our outlook.
Yep.
I tell Rob all the time, like, just go take a walk. And he was like, girl, it's like 30 degrees outside.
Exactly.
And then here, it's like 70. So even though I'm giving you positive advice, and it is something, taking walks does help with those particular areas.
Hmm.
30-degree weather is a lot different than 70-degree weather, which changes the parameters of what we're
Yeah.
talking about. So
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
it's really important to like
Yeah.
just
That.
know that it's possible to that the way we look at things can be skewed.
Absolutely. And I think that goes back to my point about how context is everything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that one, speaking on just the level of like, vibration and energy, like even though we all are vibrational beings, the
Mm-hmm.
fact that we have our own unique minds and our own unique ways of our own different computer within that, in our
Mm-hmm.
own mechanism, within our own bodies, it's
Mm-hmm.
just like it's going to compute at different rates.
Yep.
And I think from that point, it's just like I think it's about honoring the different versions of these computers, but also honoring your own expression in the middle of all of that. Because I think in honoring everybody else, you honor yourself. And I
Right.
think when you get in your own way, then you're going to be getting in somebody else's way as
Yep.
well. So it's just
Right.
like that whole mirror effect. And because we are all like connected to each other, it's just like we're all either a reflection of each other or a reflector to each other. So like we're reflecting a version of ourselves onto somebody else who's reflecting their version back to us. And from that reflection, we get to see ourselves more clearly. We get to see how much we can be in our own way about stuff. We can see how much we're open about stuff. Because, from the level of just vibration and energy, like everything is happening at the same time. Like everything is happening at the same time. And so there's no label on whether it's good or bad. It's just, it's all happening.
It's happening, yeah.
And so, and the only time it really becomes good or bad is when you put it in your own individual body. Like, how are you perceiving this? How are you looking at this?
Right.
And I think when you're looking at it from a certain way, I think it's important, to be more aware and to awaken yourself to just the of what works and what doesn't.
It's so funny you say that, man. I tell people right or wrong, good or bad is so subjective. I was like, where are you standing at when you look at it? You can Google that and people have like the pictures that are drawn a certain way and they're like, is it a number 3 or is it a number 7? Is it an old lady?
We could go real deep on this here. Like, I could go days on a conversation.
Perspective.
We're gonna have to. We're definitely gonna have to revisit you. You actually touched on the next thing I was gonna ask you about was your panic attack, and so I'm assuming that's what inspired you to come out with your audio series. Can you tell the people about that, please, sir?
Well, if you guys have been listening to any of what we've been saying on this radio show, this podcast right now, you'll find a lot of these little nuggets and these little insights in my audio series, Heal Your Panic and Anxiety Naturally. Because it talks about awareness. It talks about, being present. It talks about, not only just those elements, but I also share my own, tips and tricks. I won't say tricks, but just little tips and insights in how to manage it, panic and anxiety. Because the truth of the matter is, no matter whether you have been, medically diagnosed, with panic or anxiety, or you just mildly experience it from time to time, just under stress, it's something that we all deal with. It's not something that we're going to get rid of. It's just it's what it is. We're not going to get rid of fear. We're not going to get rid of judgment. It's just those elements exist so that we don't have to be in them longer than it takes for us to find our way back to peace and to light again.
Right.
And so that's just a synopsis of what it's all about, but it's based on the series is like a 10-track audio, you can listen to on the go. You can, listen to in the comfort of wherever you are. And it's interactive. So it's about, really being serious and being honest with yourself and allowing yourself to do the work, to take responsibility, because that's what it's really about. We can talk and complain and, fuss about, how, you're anxious or you're going to panic or you're in fear about stuff. But, unless you're willing to take responsibility for that, then you're going to be in that space where you just feel stuck and I can't get out of it. So this series is very interactive. So you're going to be doing work with it, but it's stuff that you can listen to on it as well. So
that's excellent to give that. I never hear people actually providing solutions that way in such a creative way. You already have a fan base in the audience, and it's here's something outside of what you're used to getting from me that can, help you as well. Music is inspirational. It's helpful. It feeds the soul and things like that. But it's here's something more direct. I really like that, and I'm glad you did that. I appreciate that.
And to that point, it's available on my website. It's a Bandcamp website where I host a lot of my music. However, it's donation based. The whole audio series is donation based. You can listen to the audio series for free on my website, a total of up to 3 times. And then after the 3rd time, then it's $1 for each track. It's $1 donation for each track, which is basically $10 for the whole thing. Or more if you choose. And it's, like I said, it's interactive. And, if you like it, you can download it. If you don't want to, it's just it's there for, for anybody who feels like this is something that they could use and something that they could, work with.
So by the time y'all hearing this, y'all should still have some stimulus money left.
Okay.
Going over there, I hope you do.
Right.
Going back over there. That is
It's a big
actually
stimmy check, they say.
we're
Come on.
that's Joseff Music, JOSEFF music.bandcamp.com. That will be in the description for you all. The last thing, I have to give you some space so you can highlight your inspiration, your queen. Go ahead and tell the people about your wonderful mother.
Oh, this woman is she's my huge support system. We've come a long way, specifically in my musical life. Because I think growing up, like, she definitely supported my wild dreams of just in terms of just me expressing myself. Specifically giving the environment that I grew up under. Like, it was a very strict church environment. So it was like there was very little that I could do under the guidelines, but I think there were things that I would like tap into that weren't necessarily church related that my mom still like supported me through.
Right.
However, when I actually made the decision to really like step outside of the church walls, I suppose, that was sort of some friction. However, when she allowed me to kind of spread my wings and like really gain traction on my own, then she came around and like became one of my biggest supporters. But then she, in and of herself, like, she's been an inspiration in terms of just getting through ish. And so I look at her, I look at, her strength, in terms of everything that she's been through and everything my family's been through. And she's like a pillar, like a strong pillar for me. And I love that woman to life, for sure.
That's all the questions that I have for you, Jessica. Do you have any more questions for our esteemed guest?
I do not today. I cannot wait for the next one. This is a great dialogue, great conversation. Thank you, Joseph.
Excellent.
Thank y'all.
No, thank you.
Good.
Tell them where they can find you again.
Well, it's my website, because that's a whole other story. Everything else is deactivated, like my Instagram. Like, I'm barely on social media. I have my Facebook page, but it's my my personal page. And so I have it was my music page, but then I was like transferring a lot of the supporters from that page to my personal page. Okay. So you can find me on Facebook as well as Joseff the singer, but Joseff McKenneth is the performing name. So you can find me there, and then my website as well. I'm most active there now.
That will be in the description below. Thank you again for joining us.
Thanks.
Y'all know where you can find us on Instagram, FME_podcast. Also on Facebook, From My Experience Podcast. Join the group, like the page. You can follow me personally on Instagram, complete_vision. Jessica, where can they find you?
You can find me at Exposure, EXPOZHER, Expose Her, on Instagram as well as Facebook, and at Lash and Soul, which is my bread and butter beauty and wellness studio, LASHANDSOUL.
And don't forget to check out our affiliates in the description: Retro Mimi, Gardener's Garden, Blackwater, and Acre Gold. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care of yourself physically, mentally, and financially. And we'll catch y'all next time. Peace.
Peace.